Brick.media, we up. Today we're talking about the UPS driver helper position. So it's that time of year, beginning of November, peak season is upon us. Peak season is already here, but the UPS driver helpers, UPS is starting to put those driver helpers on, and they're not putting all of them on at the same time, but a fraction of the helpers that are newly hired, they're putting them on, giving them a few hours per day, letting them get in the hang of things, because once the volume really starts to get heavy, we're gonna need these helpers to be efficient, know what's going on, and ready to hit the ground running, right? So a lot of the helpers right now, they work inside of the warehouse, whether that's preload or they sort. Most of them work probably preload sort, so they'll work preload in the mornings, get done with preload, and whatever time the driver needs them to get on the car, they say, hey, look, meet point is at 2 o'clock. Join the driver at 2 o'clock and you'll work however many hours that management wants the driver helpers to work. And so once they work inside that morning, let's say they get 4 or 5 hours, once they get on the package car, that's all overtime, right? So if they're working 3 hours on the car with the driver or 4 hours on the car with the driver, that's all overtime because they've already put in the hours inside because they're all part-time. And so once they get on the car, all of those hours are overtime, right? So it gives you an opportunity to really rack up some dough working as a driver helper, right? If you already work inside. Now, there's some of them that don't work inside and, they just coming off the street and, they still getting some hours. They getting 3 to 4 hours right now because volume isn't really here yet. But they're getting into the swing of things. But my driver helper last year, there was an employee that worked inside preload, and once we got past Thanksgiving, where the volume was really heavy, and preload was starting at like 1:30 a.m. and not getting done until like 9:30 a.m. So they working 7 to 8 hours inside, and then I will pick my helper up. I want to say it was mainly around 12 or 1 o'clock p.m. So they will go home and take a nap, get recharged, get back on the car with me at 12, 1 o'clock. Management will let you know, let's say they say, hey, today you can work the helpers 5 hours, or you can work your helper 6 hours. They will let you know each particular day how long the helpers can work. And I remember last year, 2023, it started getting close to Christmas, maybe like 2 weeks out from Christmas. And you can tell my helper was pulling doubles. They were working the hours inside, 6, 7, 8 hours inside, and then they would get on the car with me and work another 5 or 6 hours. You can tell getting close to Christmas, they started getting wore down. Like, it started really taking a toll because you only could take a nap, for so many hours in between shifts. And then let's say the helper gets off the car at 7 p.m. Well, they have to be back to the sort at 1 a.m. or 1:30 a.m., right? So you don't get a lot of sleep outside of the weekends, but it really starts to take a toll on you, especially if you're not used to working a lot of hours like that. Now, I had a helper one day last week, a guy, he actually works inside. He's really good, really smart guy. And he's excited about these hours. He's excited about the overtime, which I get it. I would be excited too. And I was just like, hey man, it's not gonna be a lot of hours right now, but when we get closer to Christmas, obviously probably after Thanksgiving, you'll start getting more hours, but try to pace yourself because, the overtime sounds great, but you're not gonna get a lot of sleep, especially if we get hit with more volume than we got hit with last Christmas. You're not gonna get a lot of sleep and you're gonna be delirious, you're gonna be making mistakes, all of the stuff that happens when we actually mentally fatigue. So I just kind of gave him a heads up. I say, look, it should be a great peak. He's probably not going to be, well, he's not going to be my permanent helper, but just kind of give him a heads up. Like, we should have a good peak, but hey, pace yourself, because it's going to be a time to where, like, these hours, you're going to want them, but your body's going to say, oh man, it's rough. I'm tired. Like, I can't work today. So just let them know, like, hey, look, that can happen, because I have witnessed it. On the other hand, drivers, like, we're used to working long hours, week after week, not getting a lot of sleep. So, we're conditioned for it, especially the drivers that's been driving for years. So driver helper position, is good, a good way to make some extra cash. If you're flexible with your hours, you're able to work, get some hours. You're not going to get a whole lot of hours on the front end, but the closer you get to Christmas, the more hours you can get, because management just let us know, like, each day, like, hey, look, we're going to put on these many helpers and they can work these many hours. And if you go over those hours, or if you need to go over those hours, you have to call and get approval from management. But you have to make sure you don't go over those hours allowance without permission. You just start creating more problems for yourself. So driver helper positions is open in most places. We don't have enough. It's November 7th, and in our center we don't have enough helpers right now. We still looking for helpers, and so they probably gonna still, most locations probably gonna still be hiring for driver helpers, probably going into the week of Thanksgiving, maybe even after that. It kind of just depends, because everybody really don't stay. Some people think they want to do it, and they get on a car and they realize, like, it's not for me. And so you have your attrition right away. And then, some people, they may think they're gonna get a whole bunch of hours on the front side, and they don't, and they say, hey, it's not for me, or I'd rather go find another part-time or another seasonal gig somewhere else where I can get more hours. And of course that's fine, but if you're able to hang in there, especially if you work inside already, you can really, really rack up a lot of overtime. And even if you don't work inside, it's a good opportunity. Also, for people that want to drive eventually, it's a good opportunity to, like, kind of feel out the position, like ride with a driver and see how it is, and see if you really want to drive. I think it's probably one of the best ways to get in there and see the position of driving firsthand, versus somebody just telling you, hey, this is how it is, or watching a video like you are right now, right? So driver helper positions, we're gonna come back with another update and let you guys know how it's shaking over here in the driver helper world. All right, so look, thanks for watching this video. Hope it was insightful, and we'll catch you on the next one. Bricked Out Media, we out.